My name is Padma, and we just finished our 4-day body immersion from body pain to body mastery, 3 secrets to unlock the wisdom of your body and embody deep healing. And I wanted to tell you a little bit of who I am. I didn't put that in the beginning, I just jumped right in. And so my name is Padma Borrego. I am a licensed massage therapist. I'm a body worker in the field of structural integration. I'm a yoga instructor and yoga therapist and an energy healer. And I have been studying these modalities for many years, for over 25 years. And I've worked with thousands of people to not only find a deeper connection to their body, but to relieve pain, to find more balance in their relationship of all aspects of themselves, right? The body, mind, spirit connection. And so I think because of that work, because of the studying, one, I needed it, and I'll tell you why, but it's helped me to become who I am now, that I feel very anchored in my body and very attuned to my body, meaning that I can, if I get a challenge physically, whether it's pain and injury, and I've had a few throughout the years, or a life change, a body change, I've been able to meet it with the same tools of inquiry, of observation, of changing how I do things, or right, moving slowly enough to understand what I need to support my body in this new place, a place of injury, a place of fatigue, of hormone change, of pregnancy, of post-pregnancy, right? That there's so many changes, right? Especially as women, but as humans that we go through. We're not a continuous in one continuous place. But it wasn't always like that for me. When I was a child, I was pretty disconnected from my body. And when I was 17, I was at a party and I shattered my elbow. It was a very extensive break, had nerve and bone damage extensively, and I wasn't able to use my arm. It's casted for a very long time, or feel my arm for over a year. And I was told that I would never use my arm again. And that was kind of all I was given. So there was a lot of, what was given to me was a lot of medication that didn't really work for the nerve pain, but they kept giving it to me and I kept using it, kept reaching for it. There was some help in PT, but very little. There was just a lot of, this is what you're going to get, and there's nothing more that we can do. And so I felt very broken. I felt very dismissed. I felt very like I was in charge of understanding something that I wasn't capable of understanding at 17. And it was a very extremely difficult time. And I continued to be disconnected from my body, even more so. Felt very betrayed by my body. And years later, I moved to New York and was working in New York City, and my body was still in a lot of pain and just uncomfortable. And so I was guided to a yoga studio around the corner from where I worked, and walking into that building was kind of the change of my life. It was like coming home. And so I had a lot of support, for one, and I had teachers who challenged me, not just physically, but challenged me to be present for my whole experience. I cried an enormous amount the first few years, at least 2 years. I could still cry. But it was like a journey back to myself that I had never been offered or given permission for or experienced. And it was unbelievable. And I had one teacher who would say, bones regenerate, nerves regenerate, the body wants to heal. And I had never heard that before. And so through that became my journey back to, or through, I should say, through that into a new relationship with my body, right? I became quite strong and adaptable, resilient. I could use my arm in lots of ways. And through that, through my own healing journey, I went on to study body work and yoga and energy healing, because those were the tools that I had learned and was learning and continue to learn to use for my body. And because of this journey, I feel very resilient in my own body and able to meet a lot of myself, and even in things that I don't necessarily want to meet myself in, right? There can be resistance in this journey as well. But I feel really grateful for the journey, and I also feel very grateful to support other people to find possibility and expanse and beauty in not just their body, but in their whole being, right? That I often think that when we have a challenge in the body, it's an invitation to come back to ourselves, right? That my body injury, my shattered elbow, wasn't just about tissue, that it really was a life journey, a reparation of ways. And so through these past 4 days, it's been just this sharing of right. And I tend to work through the body, right? One, because we get to move past the unconscious mind into the body. And the body is very much connected to, right, the places that aren't necessarily cognitive, right? It's not our thinking our way. And I do think that we need to use the mind, but a lot of our patterns that we've learned were before 7, right? Before our ability to cognate them. So sometimes the healing has to come into the kind of nonverbal places, non-cognitive places first, before it then becomes cognitive. And that was a really amazing experience these past 4 days. And so watching the women change over the past 4 days, watching them soften, watching them turn not just to their bodies, but to their emotion, to their way of inquiring, was really delightful. And there's one client in particular that really embodied this. Right? She came to me for a back injury. It was very kind of typical. She couldn't stand up straight. She'd thrown her back out. And she was in a lot of pain. She couldn't stand up. She came in really doubled over in pain. It was really hard. It was really hard for her. And we were able to really calm her pain down, and get her to stand upright so that she could leave. But it was also this is what you could do. This is the potential of what you can do. But there's also and then what's underneath, what is then going to show up. So we worked together for several months. And in that time, I was really supporting her body to stay supple and out of that pain cycle and relaxed enough so that she could not just organize her body, but also go through what needed to surface, right? Because I often find when there's a physical, when there's a physical pain that intense, that level of intensity, there's also something else happening, right? And again, not, I also don't like to scare people that like, if you come, your whole world's going to blow open, but it really is, your body's asking to be met in a different way. And so could I support her to meet her body? And she was quite willing to meet her body and what was arising. And it was really beautiful and power to watch. It was a lot of relational stuff and old wounding that needed to be tended. And it was amazing to watch her transformation physically, mentally, emotionally. and in her kind of radiant spirit, right? It felt like she was able to kind of integrate or weave in or digest a lot of things that she hadn't been able to before, or wasn't really quite ready to acknowledge. So it's really, really lovely. And so if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, and again, I do work with people in a very physical way, and sometimes the changes are more basic, meaning that sometimes just the tending, right? If there's an injury and you just need time, there's time off work, there's time really taking care of diet and sleep, and that becomes a huge part of the process. Like that becomes the healing. And having support, having somebody there to offer gentle touch and gentle movement, is just time to allow the body to process whatever else is going on, right? It's sometimes we don't really know until we move through it. Sometimes it's not clear until after. I know for me, my own work, that I have moved through big, big things physically. I mean, when I shattered my arm, there was such a physical component to it where I really had to learn how to take care of myself in a way that I had never known before, and had to continue. I was 17. My parents were living out of the country. It was a lot to ask of me, but I did it. And it was also there was a reparation between me and my mother, right? Both my parents were living out of the country and I was 17. Just that in of itself kind of speaks to the need for kind of reparation with parenting, mothering, receiving. And that has also been, right, that was a big journey in of itself. And again, I don't want to scare people, but there is the beauty of moving through things. And I think we can only process what we can handle, right? That we move through something, it may be challenging, but we are carried. And whether that's with support, with a loving guide, or with several guides, or with just the faith, right? Or building tools that help you remember that you have the resilience to meet this, because sometimes it really is just emotions that need to come to surface, a reframing of how we see something, asking for what we need, saying, I love you, I need you here, can you do this? Right? That sometimes it's so simple and it creates an incredible adjustment in our life. So that said, if that sounds interesting to you, I would love to offer you a body breakthrough session. And we'll spend some time, it's 30 minutes. We'll spend some time. You can tell me exactly what's going on with you. And we can pinpoint maybe what you need, right? Sometimes it is very physical. We start there, and the physical then becomes, again, the tending to what needs most immediate care. And if I can't support you in any way, I have a toolbox of people that can help, or types of modalities that can help. And if not, then we can maybe find a way to work together. And otherwise, I would just really like the connection and like to know what you're going through and hear your story, and what is it that you need for your journey. Sometimes even just saying it out loud to somebody else is clarifying. Right, so I will put the link below to do a body breakthrough session. I should change the name because it's hard to say. But I will put the link below, and I would love to spend some time with you, and I would love to support you on this journey if that feels right. And I look forward to